Hey guys, it's Chad at All Dogs Off-Road, and today we're going to be finishing out the suspension on Reba. In a previous video, we stripped the HBMC hydraulic suspension that would have come with us from the factory. Made a big mess. It was a great time. And now it's time for us to throw one of our Fox extended travel kits on Reba. Enoch is in the background right now modifying the front shocks for us to get us extended travel. We actually already have the rear shocks on because we had to put something on the lower control arm to keep everything in place in the back. We'll disconnect it for the video because we'll have to get the coil spring in there anyways, but this should be an easy install. Reba is ready for a couple inches of lift. Alright guys, so we're going to start with upper control arms. These are our All Dogs Off-Road high clearance uppers. They're going to be required for an extended travel setup like what we're doing here. If you don't run a high clearance arm with an extended travel, or even for instance with a spacer, you run into a situation called coil bucket contact, where your upper control arm hits your coil bucket. Same as the Frontier Xterra if you're already familiar with that platform. Now, don't mind that set of arms there. They're scratch and dent arms. They're not the prettiest, but they're functional. So rather than send them off, we're just gonna use them on Reba. Should be pretty easy. 2 bolts up top. On the passenger side here, there's a height sensor. We played around with it and disconnected it. It hasn't thrown a code for us yet, so we're just gonna swap out and probably leave that sensor disconnected. If it gives us an issue later, we'll wire in a resistor or figure out some way to make it not give us any issues. We'll start on the driver's side, get this swapped in. That's a sick beat.
2,000 years later.
So your driver's side upper control arm will come out pretty easy. Nissan was really nice in that they have some brackets here that keep the nuts for the control arm bolts captive. So you really just need a 21 mil loosen and extract out your bolt here. On your closer to your firewall, you got some hard lines kind of in the way. We'll show you a picture of. So you really just have to use an open end wrench to get at it. But it looks like they leave enough clearance that you should be able to extract the bolt out just fine. It's just kind of a little bit of a chore to get it loose on this side. Out. Okay, we've got our arm in, and now we're going to lightly we're going to lightly tighten the bolts. You don't want to fully snug these until you have the weight of the vehicle on the ground, because you need to set the position of your rubber bushings in your upper control arms here. So get them lightly tightened, but do not torque them to spec until you have the weight of the vehicle on the ground. That's tight. The top hat will be like a Frontier where your point is forward. It's the opposite of a Titan. But yeah, the top hat, the triangle is a equilateral. So on this side we have our upper control arm lightly in place. You got our bolts tight, well not tight, but semi-loose. We got our ball joint nut in, and you'll see we got plenty of clearance for days, and there's still adequate here. Next step will be to throw the coilover in, and then we'll move on to the other side and do the exact same. Now for the Armada, for the Infiniti QXs, and also for the Titan, if you're running a spacer or a very long extended travel coilover, you'll still have plenty of coil bucket clearance, but one thing that you can run to is you may have clearance where the coil bucket sheet metal folds right here. And if you ever need to, do your test fit, get your coilover in, get your full droop, and if you see that you're coming close or you're contacting right here, just take a die grinder or a Dremel and just You can give yourself a little bit of clearance with the sheet metal. Just grind down in a little bit, clear your arm, and you should be a-okay. So now that we have our coilover built, we're gonna slap it in and lightly tighten things up. Guys, our front end is all done. Now, the vehicles that were equipped with HVMC did not come with sway bars. The hydraulic system acted as the sway bar. So we pulled a sway bar off of first gen Armada at the junkyard along with the brackets, and we got new sway bar bushings for it, and end links are right behind Mike. We're gonna throw this on and then we're gonna go to the back. Okay, we got the front sway bar in place, and then the end links are in as well. I just got to tighten them down, and we'll do that off camera. We're going to go to the back and throw the rear coil springs on, and then Reba's done. So now we're at the back, and we're going to disconnect the coil bucket here and let things drop out of the way. So there's a couple brackets for the ABS that we're going to disconnect, and then a bracket for the height sensor. So we're going to get all that out of the way, disconnect, drop, get the coil out, and then we're going to change this out. Some guys are having issues with alignment after lifting, and it could be specific to the particular coil bucket that they're running back here. This one from eye to eye measures 18.5, and we have some Moog replacements that measure 19, and that length is what affects the toe of the vehicle. Your pocket here connects to the back of your spindle and is what's going to control your toe. Your camber is controlled by your forward lower control arm, where there's a cam eccentric here. There's also a cam eccentric at the back here for adjustment that we're going to replace and then go get an alignment. Alright guys, so we're next day. Yesterday we found out that our lower control arms that hold our coils in place were seized. So off camera in the evening I cut the lower control arms out, and we've got new Moog replacements, as you can see right here. Now we can continue with the last part of this install, which is getting the coil springs in. So what we'll be doing is we're going to reuse the rubber isolators that came. You have a top and a bottom, so you'll get them in, and what we'll be doing is getting the coil spring and setting it in place, and then using a jack to bring the coil bucket up, then running the bolt through. So, alright guys, when we do our assembly, it makes the most sense to have your rear coil bucket and you attach here with your factory bolt, and then you'll slide the coil and isolators in, and then using a jack, you'll jack up and then bring your upper control arm, or I'm sorry, your lower control arm into place, and then slide your cam bolt through. This is a little sketchy and a little dangerous. I strongly recommend having at least one, possibly two people with you to help, because with the jack you'll need to kind of navigate, because as you pump the jack up, it's going to want to pull the control arm a little bit to the side and inward a little bit. So it takes a little bit of finessing with the jack and a little bit of finessing with the pry bar to get everything lined up to where you can run your bolts through. But it is doable, just be extra careful. right, guys, and there you have it. We have our rear coils installed and then our lower control arms back in place. I've added the brackets for the ABS lines. Overall, it's really not a bad install. The only sketchy part really is those rear coil springs, so if you're gonna be doing this at home, be very careful. We're gonna throw Reba's old wheels and tires on for now and take it for a test drive and see how she feels. It still needs an alignment, and I still need to torque the front upper control arm bolts. I'll do that off camera once this is on the ground. We're really excited for this. It should ride fantastic and should be a very capable off-roader. So thanks for joining along. We'll be doing more projects on Reba here soon. More than likely, I'll have to replace the forward lower control arms if the cam bolts are seized up there, and right now it looks like they might be. So I've got a set on order. We might take it over to alignment first and see if they can break them loose and get things in order in the rear, but if not, we'll be doing some more choppy. Fingers crossed we don't have to, but we'll be ready if we do. Other than that, I'm not sure what our next video will be for Reba after this. I'm sure we'll come up with something. So thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, reach out, pick up some merch if you want to, and catch you next time.